Good afternoon. This is Matt with packetTrap. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about packetTrap PSA, Professional Services Automation. Probably spend about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more than 30 minutes talking through the tool. And at the end of that, we'll open up for some questions. We are using WebEx. You should have the ability to chat. If you do chat, I may not see those questions until the end. If it's fitting and I do see it, then I'll certainly try to address it. Just a quick housekeeping item, if you are online or on your computer, if there's any background noise, if you could do me a favor and mute your mic on your laptop or computer or mute your line on your phone. So we do record these events and put them up at the packetTrap PSA community for future consumption. So cleaner is better. Okay, so let's get started. packetTrap PSA. What is it? And hopefully, at the end of this, we should know a little bit more about that. But one of the overarching goals or principles, our mission really, since we created Blue Folder, was to create an intuitive, convenient, and immediate solution for small, medium businesses. And to dig into it a little bit, just tell you where we're from. The tool was first a client-server application. It was the old way of doing software, and in the late 90s, early 2000s, we realized that there's a better way of doing things. Instead of following everybody, we decided to push out a hosted or software as a service edition of packetTrap PSA. And in having the client server, we learned a lot. We learned that it really wasn't that intuitive. It wasn't convenient because we were sending people to train and implement the tool after they bought it. And it wasn't immediate, right? Because you had to sit there and be trained, and again, we had to wait for installation and implementation to use the product. So when we switched over to the SaaS model, again, software as a service, we wanted to make the easiest to use service management tool out there. And to do that, wrote these on our wall. This is what it's going to be. Keep it simple. Intuitive, meaning the users can use it very easily. Convenient, you can access it anywhere in the world. As long as you can hit a website, you can get there. And immediate. No software in a box. I don't have to ship it to you. You don't have to install it on a server, configure it. You log in, and when I first came on board, my original email tagline was simple. Log in and build your business. And that's how we basically develop and publish the software here. So a little bit about myself. I won't bore you too much here, and with that, I'll throw out a little warning. We'll tell you a few stories, may give you some examples of what went right and wrong in my life in business. And to that, I need to kind of tie where I've come from so you understand where I'm coming from. So I started business by accident. I was installing low voltage cabling for a guy, and I would go out and take a bunch of boxes of cable and orchestrate some guys to pull cable. And at the end of the day, I would go collect a check, or at the end of the week or the end of the month, we'd collect a check from whoever it might be. I got really sick of seeing large sums of money change hands. 9 times out of 10, I'd actually go buy the cable. I would expense it, and I'd get a relatively small check compared to what I was getting for the owner. So I decided to go out on my own, like a lot of folks do, right, wrong, or indifferent. I just thought that was the best thing for me to do, and went out in the birth of a small business. Right, I was doing cabling. At first, I was doing it inexpensively, so I got a lot of jobs, and then we started doing a really good job and built it, and then merged with a company that was very complementary that did voice and data services. Merged with that company. After the first year, the owner became, at least my partner at the time, became pretty uninterested in his business, and so I ended up running the whole thing. And at one point in time, 11 techs, 9 salespeople, and some office administrators. I did that business for about 6 years, made every mistake in the book, and realized there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to make money than not take a paycheck because the business is suffering. And so I went to work for a enterprise help desk software company, learned a ton about frameworks, learned a ton about big businesses, learned a ton about everything, and really enjoyed that. And then one day, I get a phone call from one of the executives who'd left the company. He goes, I got to show you something. I want your feedback. I know you were a small business owner. Would you come? I'll buy you a beer. So interestingly, we met across the street from where our office is today. It wasn't back then. And he crack opens his little web book, and he's got his BlackBerry. I don't know really what was going on. And we started to have a beer, and I said, hey, Brian, well, what are you doing? He goes, well, I just started this little company, and this is amazing. I know you're in the service industry. What do you think about the software? So I started navigating the software, and it was easy to use. It was intuitive. It was, to me, intuitive at least. And I said, so how are you getting to this? Are you tunneling through the internet, through a VPN, or what is it? And he says, no. If you can hit a website, I'm just tethered to my BlackBerry here, and I'm using the software. So it was convenient. Right? It was very easy. And I started to play with it more and more. And I said, well, how long does it take this to get all set up? How many people you have training? How many people in support? He told me about the company. He said, let me show you how to set it up. I said, so you're doing all this for everybody, right? He goes, no, it's easy. And he shows me, sets it up, shows me what I can change, and all of a sudden, there I am, immediately using software. So even going back to those days, that was really the principles on keeping it simple. So I don't know if it was a recruiting event or not, but I was really excited. I wanted to be part of it, and I joined in 2003. So I've talked to lots of people since 2003 till today, learned lots about their businesses, lots about, I'll be honest with you, I can work with somebody that has 2 companies in the exact same city with the exact same customers, with the exact same signage on their door, but they run their business so drastically different that it's been really a good learning lesson for me. So again, why do I tell you that story? I may relate some best practices from my help desk days. I may relate how I really screwed up running a business when I was younger. And if you walk away with this with a chuckle, maybe a best practice, but a better understanding of how PSA may or may not help you, that's the goal of today. So without further ado, let's jump in and talk about packetTrap, because that's why we're here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pull up packetTrap just to get you set here and what we're looking at. If you haven't seen it before, I'm logged in as Matt Work. This is my fictitious company. It's Mass MSP. Now I know it says in the upper left-hand corner packetTrap PSA. That's just to get people grounded when I do demos. But this little company is called Mass MSP. They're a managed service provider. They do service work. They do low voltage, voice and data. Funny, huh? Very ironic. I'm a part owner with a guy named Mark Mass, and we've got some employees. Now, I've logged in as an owner or an admin, so I'm going to have access to everything. And the first thing I want to do is, one of the most frequently asked questions is about the users. And so I want to kind of diffuse that, and then we'll move on to the feature functionality. Within packetTrap, we have 3 user types. We're going to have a standard user, a no login user, and a customer user. Now, the standard users are anybody that logs into the system, right? So if you have a tech and they want to log in and update labor, materials, and expenses, that's a user. Dispatcher, it's a user. Anybody that logged into the system. Now, a no login user, and if I had a dime for every time somebody didn't understand this, I'd be on a beach somewhere playing with my kids. But sounds real simple. They don't log in, right? We can still schedule them. We can alert them. We can add labor, materials, and expenses on their behalf, but they don't log into the system. Now, my best example of a no login user, I know this is kind of redundant, but imagine that you're doing business in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and one of your customers says, hey, we just picked up a satellite office in Fargo, North Dakota. We're doing some oil fracking up there, or whatever the case may be. Can you service them? And you don't want to say no, right? So you do what most people would do is you go start looking through a list of your friendly competitors, and you call one of them and say, hey, you're outside of Fargo. Do you mind helping this customer? Guy might say, yeah. It's great. So now you've got a marriage of he can support that satellite. They don't do a lot of tickets, but you want to have that coverage, and you certainly don't want to fly and fix anything that happens up there. So you put him in as a no login user. As the customer calls you, says, I've got a problem, you dispatch the subcontractor. Subcontractor tells you this is what I did to take care of the problem. You've now documented the incident. You can also track exactly what happened with him. And you can make him be a little accountable, and you can tell your customer, hey, this is when we're going to be there. So it kind of glues it all together. But he's not going to log in. He's not going to have access to your customer list, and all that stuff. Now, within these users, primarily, actually, the standard user, we also have roles. And so as I started the presentation, we talked about me being an owner of the company. I'm an administrator. I have access to everything. So the real takeaway is, don't think that if your techs log in, they're going to be overwhelmed with all these tabs and all these things. Now, there's not a lot, but it could get a little noisy. But I'm an admin. I have access to everything. You can see the roles here. And further, we've got this group of permissions, which I'm going to scroll through kind of quickly, to help you really fine-tune how your users interact with the system, right? Again, going back to really our mission, keeping it simple, is, you know what, remove the noise from everybody. You know, if they can log in and they don't need to see all the customers, remove them. Maybe you don't mind, but you can remove some of that stuff to just make it a really almost enjoyable experience. And we found out in the early days that if you make it complex, you may want some really, really crazy, cool analytical reports. And to do that, you need to get data. And if the users find their experience too cumbersome, too complicated, you're not going to get that data. So again, going back to really our grassroots, let's make it easy for the users so they put the data in, they get the jobs done, and you get the data at the end of the day in a report. So permissions help you do that. Sorry, a little topic there. Last but not least, we've got our portal users. Now, the portal users are your customers. Now, today's date and time with packetTrap, it's unlimited, all you can eat buffet, right? So you can have 1, 0, or 100 million customers if you'd like access the portal. And the portal is, and I'll show that to you, really a way for your customers to interact with your company as well as your business. All right, so the takeaway here, 3 different user types. We've got a standard user, that's somebody that logs in, it's metered, you pay for it. No login, unlimited for free, customers, unlimited for free. That's today. You know, I have a disclaimer, things may change in the future, but that's what it looks like today. Alrighty, so let's pop back to our dashboard. And what I've learned over the time that I've been doing this, that we've got all kinds of customers. We've got customers that, you know, mom and pop shop that work out of their house in one little white van, and it's a husband and wife team, and they have this very interesting contract with a very high-end leather furniture manufacturer in Italy. And they somehow got hooked into this company, and they do all the repairs on this leather furniture throughout Austin, Texas, and the surrounding areas. Well, I learned a lot from them. They weren't very technically advanced, but they needed a tool because they were losing things and not getting paid on time and so on and so forth. So talking with somebody like that, I had to make this really basic. But I've also got customers who do global commissioning and decommissioning of medical equipment, like imagine CT machines or CAT scan machines and MRIs. You know, pretty advanced group of people. And so we also have to kind of chunk this out so they can understand it as well. And the way I figured out how to do that over the past 7, 8 years was to relate it to lists. You know, everybody at some point in time has played with Excel spreadsheets for customers and tickets. And really what we're looking at here is a more advanced way of getting lists. So we look at our dashboard. Our dashboard is going to be a list of upcoming, recent, and pertinent information to the service business, right? So what's going on today, what's upcoming, and let's say I went to lunch and I want to know what happened over the last 20 minutes. I just come down to the recent activity. And what's our service billing look like? You know, I'm looking at, you know, are we on track, real time here, and what do our tickets look like? So I've got 5 out there that are new that I need to get to. I got 10 that are signed that I'm pretty happy with. And I got 10 work complete that we need to get over for billing right away. So the dashboard is a list of things that are going on, very current with the service business. Customers, just think about your spreadsheet or your list of customers and contacts. Tickets, it's going to be a list of our tickets in various conditions and statuses. Our calendar is going to be really a calendar interface to a list of appointments that we have with our techs and our, ooh, that's not a very good view there, with our techs and our customers. We'll talk more about these one by one here in a little bit. Our equipment, if you track, for example, our mom and pop shop down in Austin, Texas, you know, they're really proud of doing a great job. They've got high-end customers. And so when John Doe calls, they say, are you calling on your leather sofa, the armchair, or what are you calling on? And that would be a piece of equipment to them. So the medical equipment folks, somebody called hospital calls with a problem, they come here right away and see the customer prem equipment that they service on behalf of the customer. So this is customer prem equipment. Some people get a little confused on the equipment and say, okay, that's stuff I sell to my customers. And that's not 100% accurate. It can be, but just think of this as, you know, it's your furnace, it's your air conditioner, it's your MRI machine, it's your Italian leather sofa. Now we also fold the equipment up underneath the customer, so it's really easy to get to by customer, but we bubble it up here in case somebody calls and say, hey, here's the serial number of the widget that's broken, and you can find it pretty quickly. The contracts tab are going to be contracts that you have with the customer. So we have 3 limits on contracts. They can be blocks of hours. So in my business, I would go out and eagerly sell 100 hours at a discount so that I could play with my customers' money, and then I would need to take away those hours as we use them. So they would get a discount, advantage for them. I would get the money up front. So that's a block of hours agreement. We have a retainer type or a money agreement where you go out and say, hey, I'll do $2,000 worth of work for you, And when that's over, I'll let you know. Hopefully we can finish the project. And the third limit we have is unlimited. So I might go sell a phone system, and then within that phone system, I've got a 1-year warranty, labor, materials, and expenses, so I could win that deal. I would put that in as an unlimited 1-year agreement. Last is going to be our, well, not last, we have 2 tabs here. So billing is going to be a list of everything that needs to be billed and that has been billed. So this is really a billing dashboard. You know, again, we see our service billing by month pop up, so we can real-time keep an eye on that to make sure that we're trending. We can see how many tickets we're closing by month, again, so we can keep our eye on this, trend this. We see all the tickets that are ready to be billed and go to our accounting system. Then we see our batches. And our batches are going to be everything that's already gone over to our accounting system. Okay, last but not least, reports. We've got a handful of canned reports, as well as we've got custom reports. We've got a custom report generator that if we have time I'll run through, but really intuitive, pretty powerful, pretty much report on anything that you need to. And you get to see it the way you want to see it. Okay, the last tab is the settings. Now I may bounce in and out of here like I did with the users. If I do, I'll warn you about that so you don't think that it's part of the daily workflow. If I don't go there, then success. But if we do, I'll let you know. But really the setting is where the admin get in and they change how the system really behaves. All right, so next let's move on to really how do you open tickets, right? Because that's the main object here is let's track our customers and let's open tickets for them, track our tech schedule, get people out there to help them and get paid faster, right? So there's 4 ways, potentially 5, that you can actually bring in tickets from customers or requests. The first might be, for example, our email gateway. And so there's not a lot to see here. It's not that sexy, I know that. But what is this? So we give you an email address, and you can also change that to your own domain if you'd like. So anytime an email is sent to that email box, it can be forwarded into the email gateway, and we can open a ticket for that email. Now, you can also be sitting down at dinner tonight. Boom, the iPhone goes off. I look at it. There's a ticket. Customer, one of our better customers says, hey, would you open the ticket? Look into this for me in the morning. You forward that to the email drop box, and a ticket's going to be created. I've also seen folks go out and make a very complicated or savvy form on their website, and when they hit submit at the bottom of that form, you know, if the user fills in their email address, maybe their IP or whatever it might be, they hit submit, wraps it up in an email, and it'll come into the email gateway and be waiting to be responded to. So we can bring an email. I teased you a little bit about the portal. We'll just jump into the portal real quick. Let's see if I can get this right here. So this is how your customer would log in. And we'll come down and tell you a little bit more details about that. But the other way would be a ticket. So in the help desk space, one of the things that I thought was pretty fascinating is there's a lot of groups out there like Forrester and Gartner that just boil things down to just the brass tacks. And when I was there 8 years ago, I was selling self-service for the help desk. Now, what was the benefit of self-service on the help desk? Well, first I thought, hey, how many calls are you taking? 1,000 calls a month. Well, Gartner had said a phone call is about $25, right? So we had a $25,000 cost center there. And if I could just move everybody to self-service, wow, they'd save a tremendous amount of money, right? And I sold it that way. And I did pretty well with it. And the customers were real excited. And I had a pretty in-tune CIO call me and say, Matt, hey, you sold me on this ROI, and it was $50,000 of the software. What happened? I'm not getting the ROI. Well, over time, I realized that I should be careful what I say. But I was a sales guy, so it didn't matter. But anyway, I realized that you get about a 20% uptake of people actually using self-service. And so if you think about your organization, like one, this is a great value add to your customer, but push out the portal. They can see the tickets that you're working on for them. Another metric in the help desk was status checks. I open a ticket for you to come look at my computer, and I call you 3 times saying, where are you, where are you, where are you, right? Again, that's a phone call coming in the organization. Same thing with our customers, right? We want our customers to be in the loop. Now, if that means we're sending them notifications and they have access to the portal, and that defers some of those status check calls, not only does it reduce the cost on the organization, but makes the customer feel like they're doing business with the right person, right? All right, but anyway, so the portal, the customer can just come in. Oops, hopefully they can spell quicker and better than I can. But in this case, they need help with an email server. We can detail it. We can prioritize it. They can indicate what the category is, as well as they can pick a piece of equipment that's affected. So this is a little bit more advanced than a lot of people set up. Usually it'll just be like, who are you? What location are we going out to? And what is the problem? So we'll just go ahead and submit that ticket, and the ticket's been submitted. So first was the email gateway and our options there. Second is the customer portal, pushing out a little self-service to customers. Next, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but if you are in the MSP space, a managed service provider, and you're leveraging the packetTrap remote monitoring and maintenance tool, the integration there, as problems happen in the environment, the network, we can flag alerts, open tickets within packetTrap. You can act on those tickets and then go back and turn alerts off automatically through the system. But I won't talk a lot about that. So if you are an MSP, you want more information about that, we certainly can help you. So next is what we all take, right? As much as we want the other 80% of calls that we can't push off self-service, we're going to be opening calls from the phone. So phone rings. Now we got to do something, right? We got to help the customer. So here I'll interject just a little story. When I was running my business, I needed help. I knew I needed help. My partner had checked out. My techs were running wild. My salespeople were running even more wild, trying to figure out, going from a small business to a big business, the metrics and the financials and all this good stuff. And I went and I found this gal that had just graduated from Denver University with a master's degree in business. 10 times more knowledgeable and educated than I am. I thought, hey, this is a great fit. She can be my office manager. Good for me. She had just had a baby, starting a family, and she's looking for some place where she could work a few days, 3-4 days a week, and at sometimes bring her child in. Well, I was okay with that. And we didn't have a lot of customers coming to the office. So I hired her. Within the first 3 weeks, I was coming back to my desk and I was finding stacks of papers. My monitor and phone were covered with stickies. Call customer A back, call customer B back, customer C has a question. So I would sit down at the end of my day. I actually started marking out from 3 to 6 respond to customers. So I'd come in from the sales day or management and I would start calling these customers back, and they were really simple questions, and I was like pulling my hair out. And so here's this gal with a master's degree, and she can't help my customers. Either she doesn't want to be here because I'm not paying her enough, which was a true statement, or I don't know. So, hey, Lisa, let's do some lunch. Her name's Lisa. We go out to lunch, sit down at Red Robin. I said, Lisa, you're 10 times smarter than me. I know I'm underpaying you, but why are you giving me all these yellow stickies? It's not helping me at all. Because you haven't given me any tools, right? All your customers are locked up in the file cabinet in the back of that nasty, dirty old warehouse, and I certainly don't want to go back there, and you haven't given me the keys. Second of all, dare I log into your QuickBooks account? You're counting because you're terrified I'm going to steal things from you. So what can I do? You haven't given me the tools. And so, with that, I learned something really important. You got to give people the tools to be successful in your organization. And one of the things is, again, going back to some of the people I've worked with, is just bringing your customers off the PDAs, out of the spreadsheets, the accounting system, into one place that everybody has access to. Great value, because now they can help your customers knowledgeably. So going back to our example, phone rings. How you doing? Thanks for calling, Mass MSP in this case. I'm Lisa, right? Well, Lisa, this is Mayhem over at Allstate. Imagine I'm going to get sued one of these. Well, I guess packetTrap will Dell will get sued for using Allstate, but until that happens, I'll continue to use them as a guinea pig here. So Mayhem is calling my company because they need help. So instead of Lisa getting out the yellow scratch pad, she goes to our customer list. She finds a customer. I'll go back and show you a couple of the options there. She can find them by using the quick jump keys, right? So Allstate's an A, so I can just click there, get right to my customer. Or I can do a search. I can use our advanced search functionality to find the customer. But eventually, pretty quickly, we find this customer. So Lisa clicks in, and here she's now armed with all the information about this customer, right? She's not in my QuickBooks or my accounting system. She's not in the dirty file cabinet. She's right here saying, Mayhem, how can I help you? Well, imagine what the customer used to feel like when they'd call and say, hey, I got a question. She goes, well, I need to give this to Matt, and I can't help you. Expect him to call you back after 3 today. How annoying, right? Well, here she's armed, ready to help Mayhem. Mayhem might have a question on something we did in the past. So we've landed on the customer overview, and right here, and I have to warn you, our resolution's cranked up, so this is a good, looks good on WebEx, so this little thing hangs over, a little annoying, but anyway, it looks much better when it's minimized. But anyway, Lisa's here, she's armed, she sees the last 3 jobs we've done for this customer. We see any recent comments, any contracts that this customer may have that are active. We also see maybe like who's the account manager? Right? Maybe we need to call the account manager instead of the owner of their company, Matt. Maybe I can call the tech that this customer likes to see. I got all this information at my fingertips. How do we bill them? And then how does this customer like to be notified? So we have global customer notifications. And then if we have one-offs, like let's say Mayhem calls and says, you're killing me with emails. I'm not worried about you guys not doing a good job. I know you get here on time all the time, so don't email me anymore. We can go turn them off for Allstate. Really the takeaway here is Lisa now has information. So if he was calling about a call that happened in the past, we can drill right into it, and we're taken to the overview of the ticket. So now, again, we can go in and address any of Mayhem's questions on this specific ticket. We'll talk a little bit more about tickets here in a second, but let's go back to Allstate. So Mayhem calls in, and actually he just wants to open a ticket. So we're going to go over the actions on the right-hand side, click New Ticket. So here, our dispatcher, at least in this case, can say, well, Mayhem, what's the problem? We just say we need help with the Dell laptop. He spilled some water on it. Okay, so we track multiple contacts in multiple locations. We would ask Mayhem, what location? Are you calling from the corporate headquarters? If there are more than one location, we track multiple contacts. So in this case, Mayhem was the guy that spilled water. Now over on the right-hand side, we've got our type. This is really like a category. All the values within this can be customized, as well as this field and the priority field and the detailed description can be removed from the form. Again, going back to the mom and pops in Austin, they didn't want any of this stuff, right? To them, it was just noise. What's the problem? Who are you? We're going to come out and help. If we want to do some reporting, a little bit above and beyond what the folks in Austin do with the leather furniture, we may want to put this in a type of problem and a priority of normal. Here we can detail what happened. Mayhem can tell us, and I would type this, but I'd kill you. It'd just be too hard for you to watch. Let's just say Mayhem says, I spilled a glass of water, the computer was still running, I turned it off, pulled the battery out, put the battery back on, and now it won't start, right? That would help our tech, whoever's going to help Mayhem, know what happened. If there's a piece of equipment that we service for him, if we track that laptop or iPad or whatever the case may be, we can pop it in there, as well as create new if we need to. Here's an example of a custom field I added. So where'd you hear from us, right? In this case, he's an existing customer. Now this is, again, just a custom field. Imagine you can have 2 columns here, as many fields you like. Now do we bill Mayhem for this? Do I put it against a contract? Here I can see, well, Mayhem, I see that your block of hours has gone over by 1 hour. Maybe we want to pull it out of this project for 20 hours, or in this case, we'll just make it billable. So the next step is really to assign this, right? So we need to find somebody to do this. Now I'm going to walk you through a workflow that's not an imposed workflow. It's just a workflow that I've seen that really resonates with a lot of folks. So we've opened up the assignment dialog. So what we're trying to do is Mayhem's on the phone. We understand he ruined his computer. Now we want to find somebody to go help him. So in this case, Ted is our default technician. So Allstate likes to see him, and he knows a lot about their environment. So maybe we ought to schedule him. So I can view Ted's schedule and have a conversation with Mayhem that it looks like we have an afternoon slot open for you. If that's great, we'll take it. If not, we can go browse our availability grid. So I'm just going to click here. And that's, let's find somebody, maybe our first available. So here I open up my availability grid. Right now it's filtered out to 10 days. In this case, it's an emergency because he doesn't have a laptop. And here in Colorado, it's 12:30. So we just say, Mayhem, let's see who I have available between 1 and 6 today. Pulls up our availability grid just on my text. I filter out everybody else. You can see Sean's booked up until about 4. Look at this, Ted is available. So we'll book the appointment. I can add any comments to help Ted understand what we're going out there to work on. Click Save. Now, what happens behind the scenes is alerts go out to Ted, notifications go out to Allstate, to Mayhem, and we flipped, because of the workflow, the ticket from new to assigned. So if I'm Lisa, I now know that, hey, this is assigned until I hear from the field or I hear from my customer. I don't need to deal with it, right? So she can go on and help some of those other customers that have opened new tickets. We also have this assignment that's shaded out here. We're hoping that Ted goes out in the field and he completes that assignment. All right, so let's take a deep breath, come up for some air, and I'm going to log in as Ted. And I'm actually going to do that on an iPad just for fun. So each user gets 2 different logins. They get the mobile login, and they also get the regular login. Now, in my case, my guys used to go into the belly of a building, and I'll be honest with you, some of them would actually haul behind them like a red wagon, like the radio flyer, right? They'd have tools, their laptops, maybe in some cases a couple laptops for troubleshooting a PBX or voicemail, whatever the case may be. They'd get all set up, get their thermos out, and they go to work. Now, after zipping all that back up and coming back to the elevator, the CFO goes, hey, Ted, I need your help. So Ted goes in and helps. Instead of unzipping the laptop and getting everything out and establishing a Wi-Fi connection, he's just going to pop open his iPad and record that call. So one, the details aren't lost. Two, his time is tracked. And three, we document what we did to the customer's environment. So anyway, so here's the iPad. As Ted, I can now log in the day before or whenever I want to see what my schedule looks like. I like to know what my schedule is. When I wake up in the morning, I grab my phone. I see what appointments I have for the day, webinars, whatnot. I like to be prepared for the day. And all we're doing here is letting Ted have that same advantage. So Ted sees quickly that he's got 2 appointments for today. This is the one we just scheduled from 1 to 4, the broken laptop. You can also see 8 assignments out there that are incomplete for today or older. So what does that tell him? Ted, you fell behind on 6 assignments. Maybe they were from last Friday, maybe they're from yesterday. Whatever the case may be, is you got to get in there, complete the assignments. All right, so if Ted just went out and did labor on this, he could just click here to complete his assignment, add his labor, and move on. But this was a little bit more involved. So we actually drill into the ticket. We can see our assignment. We can see our customer. We can click to call, click to email. We can view a map of where I'm going, and I also see some location notes that I need to ring the bell gate. Imagine that should say gate belt, and enter a code 12345. I can see any details. I can see the equipment I'm going out to work on. I can see, again, the sales manager or the account manager as well as the service manager here. So maybe I need to call them and get some more details on what's going on. So you get all that information, and now what we need to do is add our labor, materials, and expenses. Okay. Maybe it's our practice that we take a picture of the water in the laptop, right? So we can initiate the camera on the iPad, iPhone, Evos, and snap a picture of a before and after. Okay. But in this case, let's just say the computer came up with a new battery. So we're going to add a material item. Here we can make the comment public. This is what we did on site. This is why we're adding this product. And click Save. So we're going to say a keyboard. We can add any mileages in there if we want. Say it took 17 miles to drive there. We'll make this public. Now these will go to your accounting system. QuickBooks, QuickBooks Online. The items as well as the comments here will go. Go ahead and save that. Next, I might want to complete my assignment, change the status to work complete, add some labor. How long was I out there? What did I do to help Mayhem with this computer? I can make it public so it goes over to our accounting system, and click Save. So I effectively just added my labor and completed my assignment. So we get a little positive feedback. Good job, the assignment's complete. Last but not least, I want to show this to the customer, what we did. This is what I did on site. Here was the problem. It took 3 hours, 17 miles, and we put a new keyboard in there. If this all looks good to you, Mayhem, I'm going to ask you to give me your John Hancock. Once I've got the signature, I can now email it to the customer or let my dispatcher do that. I'll pop back to my dashboard and head out to my next appointment if I've got one. Okay, so just to catch up to speed, we logged in as Lisa as the dispatcher. We logged some calls. We sent out to Ted. Ted jumped in with his iPad, completed the call, and now I'm going to pretend that I'm at work. Imagine that. And I'm the owner of this business. I come in, and what I want to know is about these work complete, right? The problem I had in my business is we were about 120, 130 days out of getting paid, right? And I just thought that's the way business was because I was none the wiser. And that's a huge problem. That was a huge cash flow problem, and it ended up being part of the reasons that the company doesn't exist anymore. So one of the things I might want to do as an owner or maybe my office manager, I want to get these things out there and paid as quick as I can. So here are all the tickets that the techs have indicated, the folks in the field, that the work's complete. It's ready to go to billing. So here's our Dell laptop. We can see Ted finished it. It's in status of work complete. This is the first one I want to get out. So I drill into the ticket. I land on the overview of the ticket. Again, like the overview of the customer, the most recent and pertinent information for this ticket. We can see our customer information, the equipment. We can see the recent log entries as well as the recent items. Okay. I might want to look at these in silos, let's say the items. So What hours do we use? What expenses, materials, so on and so forth. What's the billing look like? What's this going to look like when I send it over to, for example, to QuickBooks? Customer owes me $317. I made 60% margin. Like here in my business, we didn't track this stuff. We didn't track our profit and our margin, right? We just were running around with our hair on fire and just assumed we were going to make some pennies after the end of the day. And this is kind of a metric that I'd really want to track. You know, why are we making money? Why aren't we making money? All right, I can get a printable view of this. I can shoot this out to my customer via email by clicking here. This is our billing summary. Or I can just pass it on to my accounting system. I can see the attachments, maybe the before picture, the glass of water and the laptop, and the after when you put a new keyboard in. I can see the signed entry form. It's what I like to call the CYA, cover your tail, right? How many times has a customer called you and said, hey, you know, I'm not paying this, and nobody approved this work? Well, right here I've got the proof, Mr. Mayhem. Last but not least, I've got the log. And the log is going to show me everything that happened cradle to grave, but it's also has a really important component of it. As we see these little comments here, this is what we call end-to-end email. And what this allows us to do, as we send out notices and notifications out to customers and techs or users, they can respond by email. It'll come back in and actually create a thread within the ticket. So example, I assigned Ted to go do the job. He replies and says, I'm running late, I can't do this. Comes back, alerts me, maybe I send Sean, right? I open the ticket, notifies the customer. Customer says, hey, would you do me a favor? Just bring me a spare laptop just in case. I got to get up and running. Well, that's good information to have, right? Comes back into the system, notifies everybody involved. Ted now comes to the office, picks up a spare laptop, and heads out to help the customer. So again, that's the end-to-end email collaboration tool. It's really, really powerful. It's hard to show off in just a few minutes. I've already been talking for too much, but it's really flexible and really powerful. All right, if this all looks good, you know, I'm the business owner, so I'm going to approve this, make any notes, and save it. The status badge changes to closed. It now flips over to our billing tab. We now see it here, ready to go to our billing tool. So I might create a new batch. Now, instead of sending these out 120 days, well, actually, with 120 days, we'd send them about 15 to 18 days late. But instead of doing that, I'm going to actually get these out at the end of the day to improve my cash flow. Just save my batch. So basically put all of our tickets into a batch with the batch options that I've specified, which you can find here. This is Allstate. Next, I'm going to send it to my accounting system. In this case, we're going to QuickBooks Online. Our QuickBooks Desktop is a little bit different. QuickBooks Desktop, you'll actually download our QuickBooks import tool. You'll do an export of that batch and then an import into QuickBooks. So let me see if I can cover this in 2 seconds here. Let's see. I'm going to pop open QuickBooks and see if I can walk you through one of the invoices. If QuickBooks will open for me. All right. Well, maybe I'll have to resort to a Word document. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Oh, looks like it's coming up. Look at this. Okay. Looks like we get to use QuickBooks. All right. So I'm just going to go to Customers, Create Invoices, and go to the last invoice that I imported. So here's an example of an invoice, and I'll walk you through kind of the conversation. packetTrap says, QuickBooks, I've got tickets that you need to create invoices for. QuickBooks says, great, here's some invoice numbers. packetTrap then says, hey, do you have this customer, Pikes Peak BMW? If yes, great, create an invoice, the invoice number you gave me for this customer, Pikes Peak BMW. We've got a ship to and a bill to, so our ship to is going to be our service location. Our bill to is where we're going to send the bill to. We then make reference to the ticket in the first line of the invoice. So in this case, here's the ticket number, look at the Cisco router, so on and so forth. We then see our labor, and we see that it was applied to a contract, $0. It's been marked paid in QuickBooks. Let's look at one that's got a little bit more detail. So here's an example of bringing over a ticket. We reference the ticket number in the first line of the invoice, the short description, not cooling. We would also put the PO number in parentheses if we had a PO number, as well as we'd put it up here. We have an example of a part, which is this monitor. We have the desktop monitor, which is the item name, the quantity, the description, and our tech notes. We see our expense, the 12 miles. We see our tech notes, drive from site to the office. And then we see our labor. So 3.25 hours of labor. Our description is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And this is what I did to get them back up and running. 1, 2, 3. And then we get our detailed description of the ticket here that tells us, basically, Sam called and said the blue light's not working anymore. Okay, since I've talked about 12 minutes too long, I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat, see if we've got any questions. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, first question is about the QuickBooks integration. How much do we charge for the online versus the desktop? Our pricing is pretty straightforward. Everything's inclusive, including the QuickBooks desktop and online integration. Next one is about devices. Does this only work on iOS devices? Good question. No. When we first launched this, again, kind of keeping true to what we wanted to do, which was intuitive and immediate, we decided instead of going out and cranking out apps for the iPhone, or back then, imagine it was like 5 years ago, BlackBerry, Palms, we created a browser-based edition, so as long as you can hit the internet from the phone, you can hit the app or the edition. So we aren't, you can use any device to access packetTrap. Okay, so there are no more questions. That was pretty easy compared to last week, so thank you. I will kind of leave you with some next actions. And what can you do from here? One, you can email sales@packetTrap.com if you have any questions. You can also sign up for a trial if you haven't. We have a free trial out there so you can kick the tires, see if it's a good fit. It's not for everybody, but hey, a lot of times it's a good fit. You can also leverage the packetTrap community, which is a great resource forum, as well as documentation and videos of how to work within packetTrap PSA. And to get to that, just go to our packetTrap website, which is www.packetTrap.com. From there, you want to go to resources in the PSA community, and there a wealth of information for you to get started should be sitting there. My name is Matt Work, so it's matt.work@quest.com. If you have any questions, you don't know who to talk to, feel free to give me an email, and I'll get it to the right person. Other than that, I appreciate your time today. Certainly hope that you learned a little something. I hope that you learn more about packetTrap PSA. I look forward to speaking with you later.